Hello students, and welcome to the notes on the lesson on compound assignments. And compound assignments are basically a shortcut or a shorthand way of doing something slightly more complicated. So let's just get right into it. So let's say I have a variable int x, set that equal to 4. Now I could do something like this: x equals x plus 7. And so this would mean that x is now 11. Okay, so this shouldn't be anything new. Let me pause this and then I'll show you how the results. So I can compile this, I can run it, and it'll print out 11. But there is actually another way to do this. So instead of having that line, I can just simply type x plus equals 7, and this would do the exact same things. This is same as x plus, or x equals x plus 7. Okay, so this line right here is the same as the line that we had above. So let's see, save and compile, run, and you can see that it's also 11. I can do something similar to that. I can do something like x minus equals 15. So now it's 11, and then I'm subtracting 15 from it. So this is going to be -4. So this is same as typing x equals x minus 15. Okay, those are the equivalent statements. So here, compile and save and compile, run. So at first I ran it, x was equal to 11 because we're adding 7 to 4, and then assigning it back to x, and now we have something that says take the value of x, which is currently 11, and subtract 15 and assign that back into x, which we now get -4. So I'm going to keep going here and talk about the increment and the decrement operators. So let's see. I could do something like this: int y equals 5, and if I type y plus plus, then this is the same as y equals y plus 1. It is also the same as y plus equals 1. So plus plus is a very common tool, a common method of coding in Java and in other languages as well. It means to increment. Okay, so this is I guess I'll title this the increment and decrement operators. Okay, so now if I were to print this out, you should see that y started out at 5, and then I did y plus plus. So compile, compile, and then run, and I get that y here is 6 because it started out as 5. Then we did the plus plus, which means to increment it. Okay, and along those lines, there's also something called the minus minus operator. So if I do y minus minus, this is the same as y equals y minus, minus 1, which is also the same as y minus equals 1. Okay. And so just for fun, I'll do this twice. And after I do this, y starts out at 5, gets incremented to 6, gets decremented to 5, gets decremented again. So it should print 4. And so that's some basic stuff on incrementing and decrementing. What I'm going to show you next is what happens when we have incrementing and decrementing happening within a larger statement. So here I have a new line of code, two lines of code that declares a new variable called 4, and then in this line I create a variable called k that takes on the value of w. A variable called w, which has the value of 4, and then k takes on the value of w. But this line of code here is the equivalent. It's the exact same thing as two other lines. It's like saying int k equals w, then w plus plus, then w plus equals 1. Okay? So when I print this out, I'm going to get some predictable results. So I compile and run. I get that w is 5 because it does change this plus plus does change the value of w, but it changes after the assignment. So this is like saying take 4, assign it to k, and then increase the variable w by 1. Okay, so this does the increments after assigning to k. Okay. Now I'm going to show you a slightly different example when we put the plus plus operator in the front of the variable. So this is called suffix, and then I'm going to show you what happens if we do this using prefixes. Okay, so here we have 2 new variables, m and q, and this time, if you notice, we're using the prefix increment. So what it does is it will increment m first and then assign it to q. So this is the same as m plus equals 1 and then q equals m. Okay? So if you contrast this up here, because we use the plus plus as a suffix, the assignment operator happens and then the increment happens. Here, because it is a prefix, the increment happens and then the assignment happens. So we can compile and we can run, and you can see in this case that m, of course, gets incremented to 6, so nothing new there, but q is also 6 because q, the assignment to q, happens after we do the increment to m. So that right there is basically the big idea behind some of these compound expressions. Most of the time we will use suffixes. Unless you have a really compelling reason, you should stick to suffixes. There's some rare cases where using a prefix will actually make a little bit more sense. So I'll end this here. Thank you for watching. Make sure you watch some of the other videos for some other concepts on programming in Java. Have a wonderful day.